Hi, I'm Deirdre.
I'm Brendan.
Welcome to episode 2 of Making the Hot Tag. And I'm very excited because the first one taught me all kinds of things.
Yeah, we're going to push a little bit forward here.
Yeah, so this is the opportunity for non-wrestling fans to learn about wrestling from super wrestling fans.
Like
and
me.
Yeah, get to hear your questions real time because I'm probably thinking what you're thinking and he's probably answering what your wrestling fan friend would answer.
Yep, as you're watching and you hear her questions, you're probably yelling the same exact answer that I'm giving.
Exactly, and either fascinated, horrified, or somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Right.
Last week was just a little preview of
what's to come. Preview. I can't wait. Okay, so just to touch back on last week, I did not like the 6 people all in.
Correct.
Yeah. So we're going to look at something different this time. We are going to look at 2 groups with 3 wrestlers, right?
Right. So last week I touched upon this, but I can. With this, we're going to watch the entrances as well.
Okay, I like the light show so far. So this really goes... This, to me, is more theatrical than anything I've seen so far.
Right.
Like, this looks more... Oh.
ROH, that's the promotion.
Okay.
So, I know what you're about to ask. I mentioned before that different countries, different cultures handle wrestling differently.
Right.
These guys are Japanese.
Okay.
And they're wrestling in an American promotion.
Okay.
So with Japanese, the Japanese take wrestling a bit more seriously.
Okay.
Their focus is on the athletic side.
Okay. So like the sort of gymnastic moves that we saw before, or athletic in terms of punching and kicking and like MMA type of stuff?
Both.
Okay.
It depends on the wrestlers.
Okay.
Like when the lights come on and you can actually see everyone's tinier, on the tinier side.
Okay. So more life and grace rather than bulk and...
Correct. So, yeah.
I'm already interested that the beginning of this seems more professional level than what we saw before. Even the crowd looks more... Like, this doesn't look like it's happening in a back room.
True.
But it still falls under independent.
Yes.
Because now I've seen a little bit of independent wrestling. It seems to me like it's... very sort of backroom kind of Fight Club-y sort of stuff.
So last week, PWG, they used the same venue every time.
PWG is?
Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
Okay.
They put on this, they use the same venue each time. It's a VFW place. So,
I love it. It's a VFW.
Right.
Perfect.
But, they got a good price and, whatever. They do their thing. Ring of Honor tours, so they usually use convention centers.
And this is Ring of Honor.
Correct.
And this is a little bit, so this is like the highest level of the independent.
At the time, yes.
Okay.
Yes, this would be considered AAA
in
baseball terms.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because the spectacle part of it is at a higher level. Which, I gotta say, I suspect for some fans... they don't like it as much. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you really like the feeling that it's one step above backyard wrestling, then this must feel too much like WWE. I mean, if you're a purist and you want... I mean, I know you enjoy all levels, but I'm thinking, it's like people who like a band and then say the band is sold out.
Right, when they sign with a major label.
Right.
So, that's... I really like the way you phrased that because Ring of Honor, when they first started, their whole concept was making their promotion more like a Japanese thing, where their focus was strictly on wrestling.
Okay.
And for their first year, they kind of did that, but as they started getting more popular and needed to expand, they realized they needed more entertainment, storytelling involved. Okay,
that dude's got boobs. I mean, that's muscle, but those are that's a B cup right there.
Yeah, he.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he didn't do his upper chest. He didn't focus on his upper chest.
No, those are some serious moves. So all of these guys are Japanese?
Correct.
All 6? Okay.
Correct.
All right. And those guys in the black undies are all on one team. They match a little bit better. The other guys are, I don't know, look like something out of a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, you got one guy in a mask.
Yeah.
So the Japanese, their big focus, regardless, is stables or groups.
Okay.
So a lot of promotions in Japan, they have numerous groups, and it's always the members of each group that are feuding with each other.
Okay.
So these are two stables in a Japanese promotion that were brought over to do their thing.
Okay. Are either of them placed sort of story-wise as heroes or villains, or is it...
The team with the guy with the mask, I believe, are good guys.
Okay. Okay, so right up front, I'm seeing this is much more body to body. Rather than
Correct.
I'm running from across, I'm flinging. They're starting with a real grappling.
Yep. Yep. This is both different and the same as the match before.
This looks to me like high school wrestling, or I don't mean that meaning lower level, but what actual wrestling is.
Yes.
Not, like if your kid is on the wrestling team for a high school, for a college, for Olympic team, and they are grappling.
Trying to get each other.
Yeah, pinned. Yeah, looks closer to that. Then I'm. The other stuff looked more like MMA. Like I'm kicking, I'm punching.
Yep.
This looks.
And so
not that there's no kicking or punching, but it looks more grapply.
It is, and again,
is that a word?
Grapply. Well,
grapply.
we can make it a word.
Grapply.
It's an adjective.
Don't be grapply.
Don't be grapply. Well, it's very much the styles of the wrestlers. So the undie guys from last week, they're more trained in the MMA styles. Okay. So they're
there was so much kicking and punching. There was almost no close body.
Correct.
Stuff. But
it was also the style of the match. It was a ladder match, so
right. And they were lots of gymnastics, flips and. But maybe this is going to build to that.
It possibly is.
Okay, interesting.
But the big difference is, like you said, or like you're noticing, is that they're building up to it. Mm-hmm. They're starting with the grapple stuff. In terms of storytelling, maybe I can get a quick win at the very beginning.
And then that looked just a little bit more like what we saw in the other one. It feels like you have to be in better shape for this. Well, no, different shape. Right? Like, the other guys, their flinging skills were so good. Like, they started the match by standing on the ropes and flipping themselves off into the audience. Even the announcers sound more professional in this. That was very obviously fake. So here's something interesting as well. When we went and saw the match in person, I could see so many of the pretend punches and things, and I'm seeing a little bit of it in this one. In that last match, fake as it was overall, there were more kicks and punches that looked real to me. Even though I know they weren't, they looked it.
Yeah. Well, that's... When you start training, like, the two things you learn immediately are how to bump or how to fall on your back and how to throw a wrestling punch.
So is that what that's called when you fall flat on your back? The whole, spreading, it's called a bump?
A bump.
A bump. Oh.
So when there isn't like a huge ladder match involved, good tag teams can look very fluid like that.
Yeah. Are they going to involve furniture at any point?
No.
Okay. So it feels like that's something that sort of belongs. Yeah, see, that looked fake to me.
Right. Well,
Like I could see that
he didn't land the kick.
Yeah. But the hand-to-hand stuff is more real. Like So it's like the grabbing and flipping is all real, but the hits and kicks are faker.
Because those are easier to control.
Yeah. I can't
That phone number doesn't work anymore. Don't try calling it.
Okay. What was that phone number for?
Well, I think this was like in 2007.
Uh-huh.
So it was the phone number to, buy merchandise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm also looking at their costumes, and it feels like things like fringe or full costumes with the stuff hanging out, that would be dangerous because you can grab onto it.
You're right. But I think for the guy with the fringe stuff, I think those are easily tearable. Like if
somebody tried to grab them, they would just tear off.
Right, correct.
Oh, now see, that's real. He landed on him, even if it's measured.
Right. But again, if we were to go back and play it in slow motion,
you put most of his weight on the mat.
His lower side was hitting the mat at the same time his back was hitting the other guy.
So what's really interesting to me, Brendan, is how much you know all of that, and yet you still enjoy this. So, like, I come in as a skeptic, right? I come in as, like, wrestling silly and fake. And yet, I'm, like, going... And there are things I see as fake, but there are other things I know intellectually that they're doing something, but it looks like they should really be hurt. Right. And then you can see exactly where they're leaning or what they're doing that keeps them from getting hurt. It's like you know all the secrets, and yet you still enjoy it. I find that fascinating.
Because
it's like knowing how a magician does his tricks and still wanting to watch the magician.
But I still appreciate the theatrics. I still appreciate being able to tell the story within the ring.
So you have to just decide that you're watching good fiction. Right.
I mean, I watch a lot of bad horror movies, and you know how, the knives are plastic, the machetes aren't real, no one's head's actually getting cut off. But I still watch it.
So I guess that's where this gets in the gray zone, because it requires athletic ability, and it does. Clearly it does. Yes. And it's sort of presented as a sport. The people who have a problem with the fakeness, that's not what's supposed to that seems like cheating.
Right.
In sports world. But if you think of it in terms of a movie or an episode of a TV show, it becomes more acceptable.
Right, exactly.
All right, so do you know anything particular about these particular teams other than they're from Japan?
The guy with the tassels who's outside of the ring, he's the only one I know in this group. His name is Shima. Cima, and he still wrestles to this day. I couldn't tell you a thing about anyone else.
So the Japanese is sort of its own. So in Japan, it's like its own entity.
Yes, their own entity in the idea that they have their own promotions. They train their wrestlers their own way, and that sort of thing. But that doesn't mean people who train in Japan can't come to America.
Right, but it's not American wrestling with a Japanese component. It's wrestling is also a thing in Japan.
Yes.
Okay. I still haven't seen anybody tag anybody. Oh, so this is one because it's not a ladder. You have to be held down.
Correct.
So pinned, which is also closer to the original
style,
wrestling. Right.
So, you mentioned not seeing a tag. The promotion that these guys wrestle for is one called Dragon Gate.
Okay.
And I bring it up because they have their own tag style. Which means you don't necessarily need to make a tag in order to get it.
Because in the one that we saw in person, people were doing the reaching up, please tag me.
Trying to get the hot tag.
Trying to get the hot tag, right?
If
you didn't touch each other physically, they weren't allowed to come in.
Correct.
And that's not the case here.
There was a physical tag right there, but it's not
required.
Correct.
Ooh, I just spit popcorn. Sorry.
What you can do is if someone gets thrown out of the ring, that also accounts for a tag, and someone else can.
Okay. So it's like too many on the ice, right?
Yes.
Only one person can be in the ring, so.
Well, in theory. Obviously, that's not true.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of incidents of. He's not only wearing undies, he's got a symbol right on his penis.
That happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Both the penis and the butt.
They must be wearing some serious, cup protection, though.
I think they do.
I can't even imagine being at that kind of risk. See? Now, so he's trying to tag somebody? Is that what he was trying to do?
No, he was trying... So, he had him in a submission hold. He was trying to... That's another way to win, is when you put in someone in a submission hold, you make them try to give up.
Oh,
and say,
okay.
I quit.
Okay.
When you're in a submission hold, you can either try to break out of the move itself, or you can grab the ropes. If you get to the ropes, then the ref has to break the hold.
Okay. So, new rule I didn't know. So, get to the ropes if you're in a submission.
Correct.
Hold, the person has to break the hold.
Correct.
So ideally, you want to do a submission hold in the middle of the ring.
Correct.
Oh, see, now here we've got 4 people in the ring. So much for the tagging. He's going to jump right on his mid-body. So this is... I've seen the... Ooh! So that looked like it hurt.
Yeah, I have no explanation on how they do that.
My only guess is that it's really a tap rather than a slam, and then he puts his... I don't know.
So that when the person is laying in the ring, and they do that, the person who's jumping extends their legs early, so that as they're hitting the guy, their legs kind of collapse in, so it looks like that they're stomping him. But sometimes it's hard to see that happen.
Yeah. Oh, now he's grabbing his butt. Homoerotic.
There's a lot of times where if you're in a tag team or a group and you want to break from your tag team, you want to tell them you don't want to tag with them anymore, you punch them in the balls. That's usually the...
Really?
Yeah.
And everybody's okay with that?
I don't know if they're okay, but it's become the tradition.
Again, the need for good cup. Oh, now that's cool. But that could, I feel like I've seen that in, figure skating.
Right.
Right? It looks like a figure skating move.
There's a lot of gymnastics, a lot of ballet almost that goes into a lot of these moves.
I can't decide if it's more interesting to try to figure out how they do that or to just pretend it's real and just enjoy it.
Well, I mean, I've put in thousands and thousands and thousands of hours watching it, so just the repetitiveness, I've been able to pick stuff up like that.
But you know the names of them too, as if you had gone to wrestling school and were learning how to wrestle. How does somebody... when do you go from... you're in my situation and you're watching and going, ooh, that looks like it could hurt, and knowing But it's called whatever it's called.
A lot of it has to do with...
Like that whole description you just gave about the jumping and the knees, but like, how do you learn that? Is that reading, like after the fact?
A lot of reading, biographies.
Okay.
Articles online, stuff like that. It's if you want to find the information, it's not hard to find.
And that doesn't ruin your enjoyment.
No.
It doesn't take away from the magic. Interesting.
No. Because it's about the journey and the destination, not the stops along the way. I guess that's the best way to put it.
How very philosophical of you.
I had to try.
I like it. Oh! See, again, I don't know how you can fake that. My favorite is when they lay flat for the first 2 counts or whatever, and then they suddenly leap up on the third one. Like it looks like there's no way they're ever getting up. Oh, and here we do our figure skating again.
Oh!
Ow. This is oddly more aggressive than last week, even though last week seemed meaner. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. More...
With the ladders and tables?
Yeah, well, it just seemed like I said, more Fight Club back room fighting. But this is very fast-paced. There's a lot less of the wandering around the ring holding your head or pretending that you're dazed or celebrating while somebody lays on... I mean, there's some of it, but there's less of it.
Yeah, this is more fluid in action. I see I know what you're talking about.
So is that a Japanese thing?
It is a Japanese thing. It's also a comfort thing. I'm pretty sure that these 6 guys have worked with each other a whole bunch.
Okay.
While they're in Japan. Not saying that the guys last week never worked with each other, but not at the frequency that these guys probably had.
They look like Russian acrobats from a circus. That whole thing where they just climbed up in a tower, and there's no way they haven't done that before.
Right, exactly.
Do you have a preference? I know I do already. I'm interested to see what yours is.
It's tough. So the thing is, watching this either last week's style or this style over and over again in the same day, it's too tiring. It's really tough. That's why, when you go to a wrestling show, they have all different types of styles. Right. Because if you watch
like 5 matches of this in a row,
you get exhausted after two and a half. I don't know, but I couldn't. If my preference would be more of last week's style, just because just because I can appreciate the violence a bit more.
Okay, so if you had asked me before watching either of these 2, and you had described basically the styles, I would have told you that I was going to like this one more.
Okay.
Because this, to me, these guys are incredible athletes, regardless. It looks closer to what actual wrestling is. And when I say actual wrestling, you know what I mean. Like,
yes.
Like Olympic wrestling, that kind of wrestling. It's closer to that. So I would have assumed that I would have chosen this. But I gotta tell you, I enjoyed the other one more with the...
Really?
It's the characters. So the only one I'm tracking here is the guy in the green. Because to me, the rest of the guys are interchangeable.
Right, because you know nothing about any of them.
But it's not just that. It's their styles. It's their costumes. Like, what they're doing is very interchangeable. They're all as good as the other one. They're all doing the same kinds of moves. Like, I'm not seeing anybody's style. I'm not seeing anybody's shtick.
Right.
Right?
Because there's 6 of them.
But it's not just that. They're all like, they have no shtick. They just have really good skill.
Well, that's what I mean when I say there's 6 of them.
Yeah.
These guys have 20. There's 6 people that are wrestling for 20 minutes. You can't. It's really hard to focus on their shtick for.
But it doesn't look like they have any. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the other guys, it was 6 wrestlers.
I see what you're saying.
Okay. But they're definitely, like, every time. I forget.
Young Bucks.
Every time Young Bucks had a little temper tantrum, even if they'd been wearing all of the same costumes, I would have recognized it because it was different.
Okay.
Like they have a shtick.
Right.
That's who they are. And these guys are just all really muscular, good athletes. So the only one I can track is the one in the different uniform.
Right.
They're not gloating differently. They're not,
They're essentially going, they're going from spot to spot, in a sense. So that's exhausting.
And Godzilla wins. That is exhausting. Oh, not quite over yet? Didn't he just win, though?
Yeah, they won.
Okay. All right.
Everyone's just dead exhausted from all of that.
Okay. So this is what I want for next week.
Okay.
I want backroom style, more character, like the first one.
Okay.
But I want to see them fight more, like this one. Is that a challenge you can meet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like less wandering around the ring, glaring at each other, and more.
Oh, yeah. No, that's like, so between last week and this week, I wanted to show how the story can be told just by the wrestling itself.
Yep.
And how stuff can be built within the ring.
So what I want to say to our audience is, okay, we've only done 2, right? And I would have thought it all was the same to me because it's not my thing. And I'm already realizing that there would be a niche that I would be in. Even as a casual, not real fan, I'm already like, okay, I'm getting judgy already. I don't like this. I don't like that. I want that. Give me more of this. So I think that's fascinating how quickly it can rope you in.
Well, it's interesting because I will wager 5 months down the line, we may circle back to something like this, and you may like the next one a bit more, and that'll be your preference.
Interesting. Well, that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of
Making the Hot Tag.
And we will see you next week.
Yes, we will.